I really, oh God, I can't do it. Oh God. Calm down, tag Leandra, come on. I'm over the moon. I really do love Booktube, and I never get tired of saying that. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Leandra the TBR0, and I cannot believe that we are already nearly 6 months into 2024. It's about that time where you see a lot of people doing the mid-year freakout tag, which is super fun, and I highly recommend everyone continue to devour those because you are bound to leave the experience with so many best books of the year so far, so many books to avoid as far as what's been disappointing for everyone, and just some really great individualized questions that everyone would love to answer and honestly see what other people would answer too. For me though, I've decided to rebel a little bit, and that is why today we're going to be doing the mid-year calm down tag. I don't really know if it's going to be a tag, but basically I'm going to be answering 10 questions that I've created for myself to ensure that we're entering the next 6 months positively. I need good vibes. I need us to be calm in the next 6 months as well, because the first half of the year has actually been pretty overwhelming for me. It's been a time of so much growth, of so many events, and I'm so grateful to it. I'm really enjoying my time here on Booktube, especially now. I think the first 6 months of this year have actually been the most fun I've had since I joined Booktube about 2.5 years ago. But I've also felt a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress, a lot of time constraints as far as getting videos out when I want them to be out. I started a Patreon, I'm participating in a bunch of readathons, I want to support my friends, and as fun as all of those activities are on their own, to lump them all together, it's understandable that we might feel a little overwhelmed by a passion, a habit, a fun hobby that, you know, just sometimes extends the bandwidth too far. And so that's why I'm trying to make sure that I'm entering the last 6 months of this year in the right mindset, hence the mid-year calm down. Before we get into the answering portion of this video, I do have to do a bit of admin. First and foremost, thank you so much to my newest suspect, Jamie, for arriving at the manor and just switching things up a little bit. Everyone has their eye on you. They're worried that you're the person who's been stealing all the jewelry and the silverware and the family dog, because we haven't seen them in a while, and that's concerning. But I'm also so grateful for you to be joining. It's gonna be really fun, and yeah, thank you so much. Also, if you're interested in doing the mid-year calm down, maybe you've already done the mid-year freak out and you're like, okay, I've got the freaking out of the way, pick ourselves up and get ready for a calm, relaxing next 6 months, then I 100% encourage you to do that. I'll make sure that all of the prompts are listed below in case you want to do it yourself. All right, let's start off this calm down with the first prompt, which is in the name of thankfulness. What has 2024 given you so far? For me, it has just expanded my community tenfold. I ended up starting off the year with TBRathon, a readathon that I almost scrapped multiple times because I was really afraid to put myself out there, and it really was the catalyst for gaining so many new friends, a new voice here on Booktube, and almost 2,000 subscribers at this point. There is over 1,800 of you, which is really crazy. I was also really fortunate to be a co-host in Battle of the Girl Bands. This was a readathon in February. I was hosting with Reading with Neva and Nicole from Dusty Book Sniffers, and we ended up really being chosen by Rainy Blue Reads, the creator of that readathon, which was really fun. I launched my own Patreon last month, and that was really daunting, but I had so many friends who were supporting me in the wings and giving me tips, giving me encouragement when I needed it, and it's been really lovely to get to know all of my patrons a little bit more. And what's only prevented that slightly, because I've had to kind of split my mind 2 ways, is also the fact that I was lucky to be a host for the amazing readathon. I'm one of the team leads for Team Spooky, so I'm really grateful to Bree from Four Paws in a Book for trusting me many months ago when she asked me to kind of take this torch, and I really do appreciate it, and I've had such a good time as we are actually in the middle of that readathon. So many things to be thankful for, and I'm over the moon. I really do love Booktube, and I never get tired of saying that. Prompt number 2, in the name of relaxation. What is the most relaxing book that I've read in 2024? Well, This is gonna be a bit strange to say, but to be honest, it is Bunnicula. I am absolutely obsessed with this series. I have read 3 books in the series so far. I've got the 4th one on my shelf that I'm hoping to read as a bit of a sightseeing prompt for the amazing Readathon, and it has just been so relaxing. And I've been listening to the audiobooks actually, and the voice narrator does a great job. I think what's relaxing about it is that it's low stakes, it's middle grade camp horror, and all of the characters that we're getting perspectives from are pets. The main voice is the family dog, Harold, and it just makes me laugh. I really enjoy being with these characters. Their dynamic is really lovely. They complement each other really well, and I've just found it to be super relaxing. I think that's one little hidden gem of middle grade reads that really people don't realize, is that it's a great palate cleanser, and it really does lower your stress level because it's just meant to be fun. I mean, come on, we're writing this for, say, 9 to 13-year-olds. They are meant to be exploring, having fun, not taking life too seriously, and that's exactly what the Bunnicula series is. This 3rd prompt might make us feel a little bit vulnerable depending on how honest we want to be with it, but it is involving hydration. What is a book that you truly needed in 2024? For me, it ended up being A Psalm for the Wild-Built by Becky Chambers. I also could have easily chosen A Prayer for the Crown Child, which is the 2nd book in this series, but since reading this for the first time, I read this also last week for the 2nd time, and both situations that led me to pick it up were really moments in which my life felt at peak overwhelmment. I needed some self-reflection. I needed some low stakes externally, while these characters within this book are dealing with some really huge high stakes emotional and mental stressors, questions, philosophy that we really aren't taught in schools or practically. It's something you have to experience yourself and be open with yourself to give yourself honest answers as you're wondering about your value in the world, your purpose, how you can seek happiness, and what that happiness is going to look like to you, but also to the ones around you that you love, that you want to support. And I honestly feel so close to Sibling Dex as a person, and I love Mosscap as a robot being there to support Sibling Dex, and we see the reverse in the 2nd book as well. And yeah, I really needed this book both times I've read it, and I feel better going forward. I don't know how else to say it without being too mushy, which I already am being, but this was the book I needed, and it's one that I know I'm going to be leaning on if the rest of 2024 continues to feel a bit stressful or a bit overwhelming. At those moments, what I'm going to do is take a breath and then pause and pick up A Psalm for the Wild-Built, because it really is the book that I've been needing lately. Oh God. Calm down, Leandra, come on. Next is Nourishment. What is a book that has given you energy? Well, I am choosing Welcome to Night Vale. This is actually really funny because it's also the 2nd book on this list that is by a duo, a writing team of more than one person. We had Bunnicula, and now we've got Welcome to Night Vale. Maybe I'm onto something here. This one ended up giving me energy because I entered it blindly, and I think I was nearing a reading slump. I wasn't really sure what I was in the mood for, and what motivated me to pick it up was Battle of the Booktubers, another thing that I'm actually really grateful for that I should have mentioned in my Thankfulness prompt number 1. But I'm really grateful to Danny for inviting me to be in round 1, because it also led me to read a lot of books outside of my comfort zone. And in that case, one of those was Welcome to Night Vale. No, you're not going to see it in one of my round 1 vlogs because it wasn't assigned to me by one of the booktubers I'm competing against. It was actually when I was doing some reconnaissance. I was trying to figure out what books I wanted to recommend to other people, so I was doing a bit of a taste test, trying various books, and this one was a taste test with Danny in mind. Because she's the host of this battle, we also had to recommend books to her, and so I was like, well, I know that she is getting into horror, and this one was described as like horror, fantasy, sci-fi, literally everything under the sun, but also with humor. And so I ended up borrowing the audiobook, and I loved it. I really needed it, and I was excited every time I returned to this world because I couldn't guess what was happening. It was making me laugh aloud so many times. I went on so many walks purposefully so that I could keep listening to this. It gave me so much energy, and I'm actually kind of itching to reread it at some point. We'll see if the Amazing Readathon allows me to do that, but yeah, this gave me so much energy, and I'm really excited because I know that there's more books in the series, including It Devours and a couple others. I've also been meaning to listen to the podcast that this is based off of. Ingredient number 5 is Familiarity. This one is for an author or authors that you have returned to in 2024. For me, I have 3 authors that I want to talk about, and I'll be quick about it. I am so glad that I returned to Emily St. John Mandel this year. I ended up buddy reading The Glass Hotel with Laura from Book Lover Laura. She had reread Station 11 a few months ago. I commented saying, "Oh, I love this author. I've been meaning to read her again." And she was like, "Well, neither of us have read The Glass Hotel. Let's do it." And it was honestly such a fun experience to discuss this book with her, especially because we were entering it with the same perspective. Both of us had read Station 11 and Sea of Tranquility, and this is a companion novel with those two. It's not really a series, but we see characters in all 3 books intermingling and just crossing paths, and it was really wonderful to have another person to connect with and find the various Easter eggs and try to remember what we saw in the past books and if those characters existed in The Glass Hotel. And I ended up giving this 5 stars. I really loved it. For me, this is my second favorite. Then it goes Station 11. Laura kind of switched the two. Station 11 is her second favorite, and then this one follows. But yeah, I mean, come on. It's so good, and I'm so glad that I finally returned to this author after quite some time of kind of putting her to the side, maybe being afraid of trying her again, and maybe eventually being disappointed. Author number 2 that I am familiar with and returned to in 2024 was Michael Crichton. So this is a special edition of The Lost World. I'm very lucky to have this, as well as a special edition of Jurassic Park. About 5 years ago, I read Jurassic Park, loved it. I grew up on the films, and so this is really just a nostalgic kind of series for me. For this franchise, my favorite movie is Jurassic Park, but my favorite book is The Lost World. I actually think it was probably better done than the first one, interestingly enough. And finally, just this morning, I finished Against the Darkness by Kendare Blake. This is the 3rd and final installment in Every Generation. It's basically a Buffy 2.0 series. It's YA paranormal. Neither of those things are associated with me, but this is an author that I keep returning to, and I love this series to bits. Like, I've given every single book 5 stars. This was a pre-order that I got a few months ago, and I just kept putting it off because I was really afraid. I think I'm actually more afraid to return to authors that I love rather than trying new authors. That's why I tend to read mostly new to me authors. I've read 127 books, I think, in 2024 so far, which is a lot. We're gonna mostly blame Amazing Readathon for that, but about 75 or more, I just checked my bullet journal today, it's about 75, somewhere around there, are new to me authors. So it just goes to show you that I mostly pick up new to me authors, and a lot of the books that I have picked up since have been me trying these new to me authors again, because I'm trying to encourage myself to do that. So it's kind of a skewed statistic, but yeah, this is my 3rd and final author that I'm really grateful that I returned to. Now, as great as Familiarity is, it's our safe zone, we also need some healthy risks, and that is the next prompt. So discuss an author, a book, or some type of reading experience that is out of your comfort zone, a new to you author, for instance. I'm going to be doing the latter and saying Hannah Kaner. This is a new to me author that I really took a risk on, mainly because it is high fantasy. We're in this fantastical world, there are gods, and I really wasn't sure how I'd feel about it. I actually have Julie from Keep Calm with Books and Coffee and Brittany from Brittany Loves Reading to thank for pushing me to read this. It was Julie's host favorite for Battle of the Girl Bands, and Brittany and I wanted to read it. We both really didn't have much time on our holds for the library, our borrows I should say, and we ended up reading it within 48 hours because we needed to, but also because we loved it. And I've got Sunbringer on my shelf now that I actually got to get back to because Amazing Readathon derailed my read of that, so I'm going to restart it probably in July. but this was such a great risk, not only because it's a newbie author, Hannah Kaner, a debut author, also so impressive, but also the fact that it's fantasy, involves gods. Both of those things are so out of my comfort zone, but it was one of the easiest 5 stars I've given this year, and I'm really grateful. So it just goes to show you, sometimes taking a risk is really the healthiest thing for you. The 7th ingredient for ensuring a calm next 6 months of reading is reflection. Let's reflect on how our reading tastes have changed. For me, I've actually pulled 3 books that are really great examples of how I've changed as a reader this year. So one is actually The Spare Man by Mary Robinette Kowal. This is a genre blend between mystery and sci-fi, and I have become such a big genre blends reader, especially in the last couple months, and particularly with sci-fi mysteries, sci-fi thrillers. Those have really become my bread and butter, and I'm really looking forward to continuing that in the last half of the year because I've got some titles that I'm really excited about, and it's really fun. It's kind of become my new comfort genre blend, specifically mystery sci-fi. I'm also getting obsessed with cat manga. I obviously just did a video listing some recommendations of books that I've read, but also series that I really want to try, and this one is a perfect example of it's so good. Cat on the Hero's Lap. I read the first 2 volumes and I'm actually obsessed. I am getting more and more into manga. I'm finding them to be really great palate cleansers as well, especially those that are low stakes. I think that's another reading trend for 2024 actually that I did not plan in this video. I am realizing that low stakes is kind of the name of the game for me in 2024. I really don't need all of the bluster and the chaos and the drama. I have some of those books, definitely. Actually, the next book is very much filled with drama, but when it comes down to it, what I've been in the mood for are low stakes, slice of life, just humorous reads that I feel super cozy with. Yeah, that's very interesting. And finally, switching gears a bit, Diavola is a perfect example of a reading trope that I've really gotten into. Reading trope, book trope, horror trope, haunted houses. This is the 3rd book that I can think of immediately that involves a haunted house. I also loved The September House by Cassandra Orlando. I had a really great time with The Pale House Devil by Richard Kadrey. And now Diavola. All 3 of them are very different horror stories. They're different in how they utilize the haunted house, but I think that that's a trope that I really want to dive into, and also just horror in general. I've read so much more horror this year already than I think I even touched last year altogether, and we still have 6 months to go. So I'm really excited to see what more I find, especially because I've already found a few 5 stars, including Diavola. And on that note, you might have noticed that for the most part, I really haven't been showcasing mysteries in this mid-year calm down because I'm still mostly reading mysteries, but when it comes to my growth in my reading lifestyle, what I've been kind of learning about myself isn't involving the mystery genre. I'm really growing as a reader this year, and I'm totally for it. So even though you're not seeing mysteries, that doesn't mean that I'm not absolutely also loving the mysteries I'm picking up, because there have been some really great ones too. But with the great also comes the truly terrible, which is why the next prompt is Detox. This is dedicated to a book, an author, a reading habit that you definitely do not want to bring into July and further. We gotta take out some of the trash. And for me, that trash is Elsie Silver. I absolutely hate this series. I read the first 3 and I refuse to continue just because of how toxic and horrible the content is in these books, to the point where they've poisoned each other. Heartless and Powerless are both getting 0.25 stars from me, and because of what patterns I've noticed in all of them, Flawless is also going to get a really low rating by the time I actually add it to Goodreads and Storygraph. I am baffled. I'm really surprised that Elsie Silver is so well loved in this community, because she does not seem like someone who likes women. She does not seem like someone who has much faith in mothers or parenthood in general. I don't really understand her. I think she needs therapy, and I mean, we all do, but she really does. So I'm leaving this trash behind in the first 6 months of 2024 and just moving forward to greener pastures. I really, oh God, I can't do it. I'm actually going to be doing a video to fully detox myself, get it all out of my system so I no longer have to talk about Chestnut Springs again. But yeah, to come. For now, God, it's still in my head and I can feel it festering. Ugh. Speaking of which, I am probably going to try and bring back how much I love DNFing, because this year has seen a lot more 1-star or lower or 2 stars than I think in the past few years that I've had, because I typically would DNF these books, but certain projects have made me hesitate and eventually just decide to push through, which might also lead to the fact why I've felt more at risk of reading slumps than I've ever have before. For instance, Battle of the Booktuber, that one had a couple books that I probably would have DNF'd. I also am doing certain readathons that I'm just like, well, no, push through, finish the book, get the points for your team. I was doing Chestnut Springs along, so I really wanted to make sure I was finishing the books for a thorough discussion when we had the live shows. There have just been a lot of things that have led me to want to finish a book to its entirety. I also am that kind of person who wants to finish a book so that I can fully tear it apart when I'm giving it a low rating, because depending on its problematic nature, I want to make sure that there's a voice on these reviewing sites that provides that clarity, because if we all just DNF it and then we aren't rating it, well, that might be what's leading some of these books to having higher ratings than really should be normal. Bringing back DNFing 2024, woohoo! All right, the next thing we need to do is bring back some positivity after that detox. And the 9th prompt is requesting you to give some anticipated releases or events that you're really looking forward to come July through December. For me, it's kind of weird. I realized I pulled these 3 books and I was like, oh, they're just showing that I'm really excited to read more sci-fi. And then I started looking at the titles and I was like, wait a second. There's something more that I'm looking forward to. I, for some reason, am really, really excited to investigate not only sci-fi, but sci-fi set in hospitality situations. So the 3 books that I have, they have all just come out in the last 6 months. I haven't had time to read them, and pretty much as soon as the Amazing Readathon is over, I will be devouring them. We have Escape Velocity. This is a hotel involving a mystery, so it's a sci-fi mystery, and oh God, it looks so good. We also have Grace Curtis's most recent novel, Floating Hotel. Again, hotels in space. Rather than a mystery though, this one's more slice of life. I think it's going to be super cozy. And then we have Adrian Tchaikovsky. I don't know how to say his name. His most recent book is Model Service, and it has like a little servicing robot here. So again, all 3 books that I'm excited about have hospitality as the kind of through line in this sci-fi world, and I'm here for it. I'm really excited. And the 10th and final prompt is to look ahead. What plans or goals do you have personally for Booktube, for your individual channel, or for your reading lifestyle? For me, I have a few in mind. I really do want to take a step back from competitive readathons. There are a couple that I'm really looking forward to that I've been invited to host, and if the opportunity arises, I'm not going to say no immediately to anyone who's inviting me to be a co-host, but I think that I also need to make sure I keep track of my own mental health and my own bandwidth. It's been stretched pretty thin in the last 6 months, so I want to respect myself and respect other booktubers by acknowledging that if you ask me and I say no, it's not because I don't think you have a great readathon. It's not because I don't have any interest in participating in any form. It's just that I need to take care of myself, and by doing that, I also need to make sure that I'm not saying yes to any of you while letting all of us down in the process. On top of that, I also have my own readathon that I'm planning. So TBR-athon is coming back in October. It's going to be called TBR Harvest. It's pretty much going to be the same thing, so it's not competitive. It's pretty much just to encourage you to get certain goals done and have a good time, but make it autumnal. and that is right up my alley. So keep an eye out for that. I'm also really excited to continue all of the various events going on in the Manor. It is a little baby project that has now kind of just taken over my life in the best way. I love my community so much. We have some really great book club events going on. Actually, in July, we've already chosen our books. We'll be reading The Searcher by Tana French for my lower tiers. And then in my upper tier, my sleuths, in our Only Christie in the Book Club, we'll be reading Tommy and Tuppence, The Secret Adversary. This is going to be a reread for me, and I am all for it. I'm so excited to return to Tommy and Tuppence. They are among my favorite characters created by Agatha Christie. Meanwhile, Only Murders in the Book Club, we are also returning to an author that I've read once before this year, Tana French. So I read In the Woods, and now we are trying this new series, or it's not a new series, but it's going to be new for me, and I think new for a lot of us, The Searcher, because the second book just came out, The Hunter. So anyways, there's a lot on the horizon that I'm really looking forward to, and I'm really excited that I have some lovely patrons to kind of navigate with as we kind of continue throughout the year. Speaking of July, I also have Camp TBR-a-thon, which I'm very excited about too. That one's hosted for my witnesses and sleuths, and I've got so many plans. It's gonna be really great, and I think it'll be the perfect palate cleanser after the amazing Readathon for just some good old-fashioned camp-themed fun. And that's it. That's my mid-year calm down, and I really do feel calm after that experience. It has helped me reaffirm how great the last 6 months have been. I've had some really great reading experiences. I've met some great people. I've had a really fun time with various booktube events, and I genuinely can't wait to see what happens in the next 6 months. If you're interested in participating in this as well, I certainly encourage you to go ahead, make your own video, use the prompts below, and if you're interested, tag me, and I can honestly support you in the way that you supported me by watching this, potentially liking and subscribing if you had a good time. And I really do hope to see you all in the next one. Also, thank you so much to my patrons. You have been so lovely so far, and you are part of my 2024 highlights. So yeah, thank you. Okay, everyone. Bye.